This is Jen Sideltes. All right. All right. Good afternoon. My name is Jillian, and actually I'm just going to sit right here. I guess that's going to work. And I'm the founder of Sharks4Kids, and we had a little bit of technical difficulty, but we're here, and we're really excited to share some shark science with all of you. So we're going to go ahead and introduce our team, and we have a couple of classrooms joining us live as well. So we'll give them a quick introduction, and then we'll jump right into it. So we're here at the Bimini Biological Field Station, which is on the South Island of Bimini in the Bahamas. It's been here since 1990 and is one of the places probably responsible for some of the most interesting things that we know about sharks have been discovered here right on this tiny little island at this research station. So it's world renowned. Lots of different species of sharks. You guys, if you've watched a Shark Week show, you've probably seen this place. And so we're going to talk a little bit about some of the work being done here at the lab. We're going to introduce. Hello, how are you?
Hi, sorry, we were in Skyping them back.
That's okay. That's okay. If you guys just want to go ahead and mute your microphone. Thank you for joining. We're just doing a quick introduction, and then we'll let you guys introduce yourselves as well and jump right into this. So, yeah, so we were just saying for you guys that just joined us, we're at the Sharklab, the Bimini Biological Field Station on the South Island of Bimini in the Bahamas. It's about 50 miles from Florida, and this place is world renowned for the shark science that has been done here. Things like learning that sharks have friends, tracking their movements, where they go. Lots of really exciting and interesting stuff has been done here, and we're going to share a little glimpse of that with you guys today and show you some actual live science. So I'm going to let the team introduce themselves, then we'll meet our classrooms, and then we'll dive right into the science.
Hi guys, my name's Patty. I'm from Lexington, Kentucky, so pretty far away from the Bahamas. I'm the outreach coordinator here at the lab, so I'm in charge of a lot of our public programs. And this is my second time here with Sharks4Kids with Jillian, so it's nice to see you guys, and we're going to have some fun today.
Hi, I'm Ellie. I'm from Scotland, also very far away from the Bahamas. I studied animal science, and I love all sharks, especially the lemon shark, which is why I'm here as a volunteer. And this is my first time on Sharks4Kids, so I'm really excited.
Cool. All right, so I'm just going to try and move this down a little bit so we're a little lower. So there's lots of sharks here in the Bahamas. It's considered the shark diving capital of the world, so people come spend a lot of time here to see different sharks, to scuba dive and snorkel with them. So it's a really great place to study these animals. And the research station has a pen out back. Think of if you have cows or pigs or sheep and they're in a pen outside. It's the same kind of thing, but it has small sharks. And they stay there for about 30 days or less. And it's a great tool for visitors to come learn about the research being done. They can come meet some of the sharks. The new volunteers can learn safely how to handle the sharks and work with them. And it's also a great opportunity for some different research that's being done with these semi-captive sharks. So again, think of it like having cows or pigs out in a field, except this pen is in the water. And one of the species that is kept there is this one right here. So we're going to introduce you to our special guest. Right, I know. Want to be on camera? Whoops. I'm not sure this one wants to be on camera just yet. All right. So if you guys can see, this is our special guest. All right, and this is a nurse shark. So they're a very hardy species of shark, and you might have noticed they don't look like a lot of other sharks. Like you might think a great white with that pointed snout. So they look quite a bit different. So what we're going to do is talk a little bit about some of the features this shark actually has, and take you through a little bit of the anatomy. And then we're going to talk about some of the tags and what tagging a shark means, why we do it, and a little more about the work here. So I'm going to let these guys go ahead and take you through a bit of the anatomy for the shark and learn a little bit more about kind of the characteristics and the features this animal has.
Sure. All right, Ellie, do you want to grab a little sharky friend here? So as Jillian said, this is the nurse shark. Nurse shark is a very common species along most parts of the United States, but definitely the East Coast and here in the Bahamas. Some of the things about this guy that make him special is, yeah, good. Let's see. So Let's see if we can get a better. Oh, there we go. That's perfect. So this shark, again, is not like normal sharks. It's not very pointed or full of sharp teeth like a lot of things like our lemons here. But some things you'll notice right off the bat are, you see these little small flaps of skin hanging off the front of the mouth? Called barbels. So they're very similar to something, if you guys are familiar with catfish, if any of you guys have been in any rivers or anything like that where you might see those guys, it's the same deal. They use it for kind of tasting around in the sand in front of them. Because these sharks, again, pretty different from a lot of sharks, actually eat small crustaceans. So think of things like crabs or lobsters, or another thing found in the Bahamas a lot is a conch type of gastropod. But even small little fish these guys will eat. But instead of, you want to show them the mouth? Instead of having the sharp, shark-like teeth with the biting and tearing, these guys have small plates that are used for crushing. So if you think of the teeth in your own mouth, the ones you have in the back, let's say in the back of your mouth, the ones that you use to crush a lot of your food, those are pretty much the same kind of teeth these guys have because they have to bite through shells. So again, think of the crabs.
Can we aim it down a bit?
Sure.
Put it in the water more.
Yeah, could do.
I can do that a little bit.
Sure.
Camera down a little bit.
Yeah. Thanks, Jillian.
Yeah, just adjust. Let's see. There we go. A little bit better.
Another thing with sharks and way you can identify a shark is how many gills it has. So in case you guys didn't know, the way sharks, or all fish for that matter, actually breathe underwater is by the use of gills. So we have lungs, but things living in the ocean have gills, which basically allows them to take the oxygen out of the water. These guys have 5 little gills on the side, like slits in the side of the head. These guys have 5, and most other sharks you'll ever meet in the world will have 5 of these gill slits. But some other shark species can have 6 or even 7 of them. So there's a lot of differences around sharks in the world. And other things you can see on this shark that make him special is their eyes. You can see their eyes here are quite white, and they're much smaller than most other species. This has to do, one, with these guys being nocturnal predators, which means that they spend most of their time when they're looking for food during the nighttime, versus a lot of other sharks who will hunt during the day. An active shark, this one. Do you wanna? Are you comfortable with flipping the shark over?
I don't think
If not, I can. Here, I can
Sure.
come around if you want.
So the way you actually tell a boy versus a girl shark is between these sets of fins right here. These are called the pelvic fins. This one is a boy because he has these 2 small cylindrical structures right here between these 2 fins there. So that's how you tell a boy versus a girl shark. All sharks and stingrays will have those as well.
You want anything else on the belly?
No, I think that's good on the belly.
You want to see a shot of the mouth? Is it easier?
Sure, yeah. Just to get a more close-up picture of the nurse shark mouth, you can see they don't have your very typical shark mouth. You don't see a whole bunch of sharp, pointy teeth sticking out or anything like that. But they definitely still do have teeth. So they are still sharks in every single way that really counts, but just a little bit more different.
Do the fins and
Sure.
And the skin.
So sharks have a variety of different kinds of fins on them. So you can see they have their pectoral fins here. These are the fins they'll use to help keep keep themselves moving in the water, but also with their tail. The tail, you can get an image of how a shark actually lives its life by looking at the shape of its tail. So this one here has a very large.
I'm just putting the camera. We have a splash zone on the camera.
Just a little wet.
Splashy shark.
Job. Parts of working with sharks, you're definitely going to get wet. But also these guys have what's called dorsal fins. These are the fins that are actually on the top of a shark. So this guy has 2 here. You see the first one here and the second one down there. They also have the pelvic fins, which you guys saw earlier, as well as what's called the anal fin down here, right before the tail, which is the caudal.
The skin a little bit.
Of course. A really cool thing about shark skin. So the skin is not like mine or yours or really most other fish either out there. They're very unique in one way. They're covered in a type of scale called a placoid scale. It's also covered in many things called dermal denticles. So essentially, it's almost like a bunch of small little teeth all alongside the body. The way most sharks actually work is these teeth are pointed one way, and they're pointed towards the tail. So if you were to actually touch a shark, going this way, so going along to the shark here would actually be quite smooth. It would feel quite smooth, but going the opposite way would be very, very rough, something like sandpaper. And actually, they used to be used as sandpaper back in the day. And the roughness of the actual skin of a shark will vary greatly between species. So something like our nurse shark here, they still have these small little teeth on their skin, more or less, the dermal denticles, but they're smaller than what you might find on something like our lemon shark here, or our tiger sharks here, or any other shark for that matter found here in the Bahamas.
All right, do you guys want to start setting up?
Sure.
Do you want to talk about the tags first? Or, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I can get those. You've got your tags. I'll let you use them. You can wipe your screen. So, what we're going to talk about next, I'm just going to wipe the computer screen because we had a little bit of a splash from our shark here. So, just bear with us, guys. We're just going to wipe the screen a little bit. All right. So, the next thing is talking about the tags. And you may have heard people talk about shark tagging, or we're tagging a shark, and you might wonder, what is that? And essentially, it's a way to kind of give the shark a barcode. Like when you go to the store and your items go over the register and they beep, all right, it's because of that code on the back that has a specific price and identifies that item. So it's really kind of like essentially giving a barcode, a much more kind of technologically advanced version of a barcode, some of these tags, but really just kind of giving this animal a barcode for a specific duration of time, whether it's the rest of its life or designed to stay on for a specific amount of time, maybe a few hours or a few days. So we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about kind of the tags that are being used here. A lot of these tags are used throughout the world, but specifically the ones being used here for the research being done.
Okay, so the first tag I'll mention is our pit tag. I'll bring this closer so you can see. And as was mentioned, this works just like a barcode. I don't know if you can see, it's very small, but size of a grain of rice there. And this gets inserted just beside the dorsal fin. So if you remember, that was the fin on the top of the shark. The main one you see in movies sticking out the water, that's the dorsal fin. And this allows us to give the shark an identification code. So when we find a shark and when we come across a shark, we can use this special tag reader, which is being kept dry in a little bag here. And we'll basically press this button and hold it above the top of the shark. And if that shark is one we've seen before, it's a shark we know, its special code will come up here that comes from the chip. And this chip works very much like a microchip you might use for your cat or dog. So it just goes in there, hopefully staying its whole life. It's in a place that makes it really hard to come out the skin. And it just makes it really easy for us to tell who that shark is. Similar idea to the pit tag is the Casey tag. I don't know if you can hold that closer.
Sure.
So this is a bit of a bigger tag. This actually gets inserted in a similar place a bit further down the body, and it sticks out. And it's got a little 6-digit code on there, which again is another barcode for that shark, so it lets us know who that shark is. And because this is slightly bigger and hangs outside the body, it makes it a lot easier for other scientists or fishermen or anybody who might see this shark. It'll tell them that's a shark that we know and that we're studying. So it's a really good way for us to get information from anybody else that might find the shark on its whereabouts and how big it is. So another really cool tag. Another one is this big fancy yellow one here. This is what we call an acoustic tag. A little bit bigger, so it has to get stuck inside the body on the stomach of the shark. And this gives out a special signal that we can read using an underwater speaker. And this tells us how close the shark is, whereabouts it is in the water, and it sounds like a kind of beeping. So you put on some cool headphones, you put your speaker underwater, and you'll hear like a radio signal coming from this tag. And that gives us lots of nice information about where the sharks are in Bimini, how far away they are, and then we can write lots of reports on the locations of the shark.
I'm going to talk about the receiver. And I'll just show you guys this as well, if you can see. This is one of the receivers that goes on the bottom, and that's like a stationary listening station for those pings on the shark. So that's a hammerhead with the tag. And instead of somebody having to put the speaker in the water, this stays, records the temperature, the date, the time, and the shark, and then it can come up to the surface and be downloaded, and it gives information about which animals were in the area, how often they were there, how much time. So it's a great tool for learning about their movements, and also who are they hanging out with, which is part of the tools for understanding that some sharks are highly social, which is really interesting, which means some sharks have friends just like we do.
And the last fancy tag I'll mention is the accelerometer. Which again looks like a little toy, but that gets stuck on the dorsal fin again on the outside of the shark, and it basically tells us how fast that shark is moving. So again, it gives us lots of information on what speeds the sharks can reach, and how they make use of the water. Anything else you want to add on tags?
No, I think that's good. Oh, cool. Right. So part of the reason like all of these tags are done is to learn a little bit more about these animals. If we're trying to study an animal and understand it in certain aspects of its life, it's kind of the characteristics, the life history traits, and that includes like, where does this animal go? Okay, we have sharks here in Bimini, but do they stay their whole life here? What habitats do they use? What food do they eat? And unfortunately, about 1/4, 25% of all sharks and rays are threatened with extinction, which means in order to protect them and keep that number from increasing, we really need to understand a lot about these animals in order to put better protections in place. Here in the Bahamas, it's a shark sanctuary, so it's actually illegal to kill sharks, and that's wonderful, but the sharks don't always stay here, they travel. So where do they go? And if they're going to a specific area, maybe that's an area we want to put better laws in place. They're going over to Florida, so protecting them there, or they're going to other islands in the Caribbean. Maybe it's a good idea to put better laws in place to protect them there. So all of these tags are part of better understanding the movements and the characteristics of these animals in order for us to all hopefully protect them so that they don't become extinct. Now, part of that is going out and catching sharks. So around the world, when people go out, they have different techniques they use, from long lines to fishing poles to nets to drum lines to catch sharks. And once a shark is caught, there's something called a workup that's done, a scientific workup. And you can think of it like going to the doctor and getting a checkup or a physical. Right? So just like the doctor wants to know how tall you are and how much you weigh, it's kind of the same thing we do with sharks to learn a little bit more about them. So we're just going to take you through a bit of a workup. So when the lab goes out and catches a shark, this is the process that happens, and all the data, the information is recorded and kept over time so that they can analyze the different species, the movements, all these really interesting things to learn more about the animals because of this data or information that's collected.
Sure. Do you want to fill up the trough?
Yeah.
So this little PVC thing here is what we call a trough. It's our workup trough, in the sense that it has, if you can see this yellow part here in the middle, is a measuring tape. It is stuck to the bottom of this. So with that, we can put some, well, first off, we'll put some water in this little trough, and then we can put the shark in the trough with one nose at one end. We can actually take a little measurement right there just on the trough itself, which makes it really easy for us to actually know how big this shark is, like Jillian said. That should be good. Thank you, Ellie. So with this, we'll take the shark up and put him back in a little bit of water in here so he can still breathe. And we'll take 2 different measurements on our nurse shark. The first one will be what's called the pre-caudal, so it's right before the tail. On this one, it is 50 centimeters. And then the total length, so that's all the way to the tip of the tail down here, This guy is 71 centimeters long. So with that, you can put this little guy back in the water. And we can actually use that information and write it down somewhere.
Like a little measuring tape.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to grab a book?
Sure. And we can also take another sort of measurement that's called girth measurements. So with this, Ellie, would you mind putting the shark back in the trough?
Yes.
So the girth measurements are one way you can measure how well a shark is doing. So basically, how much food has he been getting? Is he getting enough food in the wild? Things like that. Lift up the tail here. And with these, we do them right behind the pectoral fins. So think of like measuring tape in your armpits. So this one here is 26 centimeters for the pectoral girth. So this one has definitely been eating pretty well out there in the wild. And then the other one we'll take will actually be from behind the dorsal fin. So this is you can get an idea of how fast a shark grows because it'll grow long and it'll grow wide. And the second one is 14 centimeters. All right.
Yeah.
And then some of the other things you can put them back in the big tub. Some of the other information we get from our sharks is actually what's called genetic information. So if you guys have covered in any of your science classes yet, DNA, I'm not sure if you have, but what it is basically it's a material that every living thing has. And we'll actually take a small sample of it from our shark. We usually take it from a very small little clip from the fin. Think of something like half the size of your little pinky nail, so really nothing big at all. And with that, we take it from, you might see this small little cut right here. So we'll actually take it from the dorsal fin about there. And what we do with this, you can put it back now, it's okay. With this, we can actually identify our sharks by this actual DNA. And a really cool project we've done here with the lemon sharks is actually create an entire family tree of all the little lemon sharks that have been coming to Bimini. So we can see moms that have dropped off their pups here and that have now grown up into moms and dropping off their pups again here. So you can get a really cool idea of actually how important Bimini is for not just lemon sharks, but all sharks in general for that reason. And another cool genetic sample that we'll take is called stable isotope. It's a bit fancy and complicated, so I won't get into it too much, but what you can tell from it is actually what an animal's been eating, which is really great for us as scientists, so we can get an idea of actually where a shark fits in a food chain. So in a food chain, there's things on the bottom that get eaten by things above it, and then those things get eaten by things above it. So we can get an idea of exactly where sharks fit in their environment, which is really important if you want to look at how an ecosystem is doing, or an environment for that matter.
And that you might have, a lot of you have probably heard, like sharks are often referred to as apex predators at the top of the food chain, but not all of them are there, and they might not always be there because when they're very small, other sharks, other big fish, there are things that eat sharks. So they're not always these giant animals at the top of the food chain. So during different stages of their life, they might play different roles, and having these samples allows people to understand that and understand again, you know, how to help these animals. It's really, all of this is to better understand them for conservation efforts, all right? Any animal that you want to protect, even your cat or dog at home, if you're trying to take care of them, you really need to understand. And collecting this data, again, is really, really important, and that's why it's being done all over the world with all different types of sharks. Is that the little tag?
Yeah, and as Ellie mentioned of the pit tag, can I trick you?
Yeah.
So that little pit tag, again, just like your cat and dog at home, allows us to identify them. So now that we've collected all this information, we want to be able to look back on this information again, especially if we catch this little nurse shark again in the future. So with that, we have to put in this little tag inside the shark just so we can identify him again in the future. Do you mind? Thanks, Ed.
He comes back over.
Come to say hello. So with that again, we put this little tag in the base of the dorsal fin. So we'll just put it right here, and voila. The shark now has a fancy new number. Yeah.
I do. Go ahead and scan it.
So remember, we use our fancy tag reader here.
Okay. Oh, you got it.
Oh.
There you go.
Yeah.
And now this shark now has a very long, oh, I guess you can't really see it too much on the screen, but it has a long 16-digit number that we can now look back in our database in the future. Whenever we catch this shark again, we can compare how much it's grown since the last time we caught it, if it's starting to eat other things now that it's gotten bigger, and also just understand where it might be actually using different parts of the island.
Cool. All right, so all over the world, this is, and obviously there's some differences that happen depending on the size of the shark and the type of tag being put in. Some of the tags go inside, different types of tags being used, but essentially the workup is done in the same format with the animal to collect that specific information. It's really important to have that to see, you know, growth rates, diet, habitat use. Again, these are all really important pieces to trying to better understand these animals. If you think of it as a puzzle and we're piecing together all of these things to have a complete picture of the life of this animal. And we're really lucky here in Bimini because for the nurse shark, we get them from birth all the way to adults. Same thing with the lemon shark in all stages of their life. So think about it. You go to elementary school, then middle school, then high school, right? So different habitats that are used at different times in your life. Same thing with the shark. The mangroves to start before they get bigger and go on the seagrass beds and then into the coral reefs. And here in Bimini, we have access to all of those life stages. So again, it's a really great place to have access to that, to learn a lot about these animals. So this little shark will go back out to the pen and then eventually be re-released in the spot it was captured. But hopefully a lot of people, including yourselves, will have learned, you know, a bit more about sharks from being able to meet and learn a little bit about this specific animal. So we're going to go ahead and let everyone ask some questions now. So I think we'll start with Mrs. Zamora's class. If you guys, if you want to ask a question and then mute your mic, and we'll do 3 questions with each group. So if you want to go ahead, Mrs. Zamora, and start off with a couple of questions, that would be great.
There we go. Try again.
Can dolphins protect themselves from sharks?
Can dolphins protect themselves from sharks? Were you able to hear us?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So sharks do, they do attack dolphins. A lot of the spotted dolphins that we see here, particularly the calves, the young ones, will have shark bites. But the dolphins can work together to protect their young. So the females will come in and kind of create a circle around and they can drive the sharks away. Dolphins have a very strong rostrum, that snout, and they can actually use that to hit sharks, especially in the gills or sensitive areas, and defend against them. Now, it doesn't always work, but they are able to defend themselves. And if they're small, it's usually other adult dolphins will come in and try and protect the young. But we do see a lot of dolphins here with shark bites. Most of them are from tiger sharks, and some of the research the lab has done in collaboration with the dolphin researchers has found that these tiger sharks do after the question.
How long can the average shark live?
How long can the average shark live?
Sure. So sharks vary by all sorts of species across all sorts of topics, especially how long they live. So take example our lemon sharks here. We've been working with them for over 25 years now. And some of our most recent research has actually seen that the lemon shark can live up to 40 years old.
40 years. Wow. Here's our last question. Go ahead.
How long can the average shark live without eating?
How long can they go without food?
Sure. Dr. Gruber, who's the founder of this station, as well as the scientist known as the grandfather of shark biology, did a lot of work with this and the topic of their diets, and they can go around 3 to 4 weeks actually without eating.
Great questions, guys. We're going to go on next to Mrs. Lumley's class. So if you have 3 questions, if you want to go ahead. Thank you, Mrs. Morris' class. We'll rotate back through to you guys in just a minute.
All right. Okay. Career. Why did you choose this to be your career?
Well, I think we're all kind of a little different, the work that we do. I kind of combined science and photo and video as a way of creating education for students. I love sharks. They're amazing animals, and I really want people to understand that they're not man-eating monsters and really work with people and share that. So kind of went along the path of education because I love sharks. They're amazing, they're important, and they're not monsters. And I think the more people that can see that, hopefully the more people are going to want to help them. What about you? Why do you want to work with sharks?
So I spent most of my childhood on the eastern part of the United States, around Washington, D.C., so on the Atlantic Ocean. And ever since I was a kid, I don't know, I just always been kind of very passionate about sharks. And I just figured this is the best way if I want to do something to help them, is to actually figure out more about them so I can provide more information to people who can make meaningful steps to help them.
Yeah, there's not many sharks in Scotland, so I really love sharks, but there was nothing much to learn about them there. So I thought this would be a really good place to come and expand my knowledge. And yeah, same. I really want to educate people on sharks and prove that they're not these crazy, monstrous things, and they actually bring a lot of good to our oceans and are really fascinating. So I would like to help educate people, and I feel I can do that here at the Shark Club.
Oh, great question.
What was the biggest shark you've ever seen?
I've been in the water with 16, probably almost 17-foot great white. So that's the biggest animal I've ever actually been in the water with. Here in Bimini, probably about 13 feet, I think. So what about?
Yeah, I think me as well here is, let's see, maybe 12 or 13 foot. The hammerheads here, the great hammerhead.
We have some big, beautiful hammerheads here that are some big ladies, and those are probably the biggest sharks that we get to swim with here.
Yeah, that's the biggest shark I've seen as well, the hammerheads.
Great question. You guys have one more?
Go ahead, Darshan.
How long have you been working with sharks?
I've been working with sharks for about 15 years now. So I'm studying them, filming them, doing various projects from research to kind of filming and photography for different television shows, working at the lab. I first visited the lab in 2004, so I've been doing this for a while and I love it. It always changes. I learn something new about sharks every day, so it's really incredible.
I'm coming on 3 years.
I'm brand new. I've just been here since January, and I'm here for 3 months, but hopefully I will be learning about sharks for a long time after that.
Well, thank you guys. All right, we're going to go on to Miss Sidolti's class. I hope I said that right. If you guys have 3 questions for us.
Hi. Okay, first one.
Why do people kill sharks?
Could you hear us?
Yeah, why do people kill sharks? There's a lot of reasons. Unfortunately, people don't like sharks. They're afraid of them. They hear things on television and the internet that they're monsters. So out of fear. Also, money. Parts of the shark, including the fins, the meat, the jaws, the oil from the liver, can all be made into products that are sold. Fins can bring a lot of money, particularly, you might have heard of shark fin soup. It can be very, very expensive, sold in different parts of the world. Sometimes people say it happens in China only, but it's all over the world. The meat is consumed, so sharks are also caught accidentally as bycatch when people are fishing or trying to catch something else. So those are kind of really the reasons, is the products that they can be made, and then sport fishing as well, just for sport and for fun. So those are oftentimes why people, they're kind of the main reasons that people are targeting and going after sharks. Good question.
Okay.
Why aren't you afraid to be underwater with sharks?
Why aren't you afraid? You're from Scotland, you didn't swim with a lot of sharks. Why are you not afraid?
It's just not scary. You get in and they're a lot more peaceful and calm than you expect. And if you keep your distance and you aren't harassing them in any way, there's no reason to be afraid at all. And people have dived with sharks for years. And yeah, it's just a very safe and peaceful environment.
All right, you guys have one more?
Why do fish hang on hammerheads?
That is a very cool question. It's not just hammerheads that they'll hang on. Oftentimes you'll see lots of fish hanging out with other sharks, making a little entourage. So they have a bunch of little fish friends. Sometimes they do it for some other larger fish, but the ones I'm guessing you're talking about are the Remoras. The Remoras are famously known for actually hanging on not just sharks, but you can even see them on other fish, even things like turtles. Oftentimes they'll do it as kind of a symbiotic relationship is what it's called. So they can just, like a little suction, they can suck themselves onto the side of the shark. And then once that shark actually eats something, they can actually steal small parts of the food off it as well. And then as well, they get protection from possible larger predators as well.
All right. You guys, we're going to go back to Mrs. Amora's class for 3 more.
You know what? Mrs. Saldudi's class, we have to go.
Okay, well, if you guys want to do 2 more quick, then we'll finish up with 2 from your class.
Oh, thank you. The sharks chew.
Do sharks chew their food? Absolutely. Can I go to the bathroom?
Well, it depends on the type of shark. So not kind of the same way we do. Their stomachs are a little bit better at digesting larger things. So it'd be very different. They don't have to kind of chew it up as well as we're supposed to. You know, if you've ever kind of taken a big bite, kind of swallowed it, maybe your stomach hurts a little bit. Things like nurse sharks do a lot of crushing. Like when Patty showed you the teeth earlier, they tend to kind of crush things. Great whites will tear off large pieces, and they actually have the ability to digest larger pieces. So it's not chewing kind of in the way that we do. It's more of a tearing and sort of swallowing much larger pieces. And then in the case of like a tiger shark, if it swallows something like a bird that has a lot of bones, imagine if you had a whole piece of chicken and the bone, right? It would be really hard to digest. If you were a tiger shark, you just throw your stomach up and get rid of it, which is really kind of gross, but also amazing.
Go ahead.
Good. You got one more?
Yes, bye.
How many species of sharks are in the world?
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, it's tough to say exactly how many because scientists are continually discovering more and more species of sharks. There are over 500 different species, from everything as small as our, well, everything like our nurse shark here to the great hammerhead to all sorts of really cool species that live in deep water, and everything in between. So there's really sharks you can find in almost every environment across the world, across the ocean.
And finding new species every year is another reason that we really want to take good care of our oceans, because there's so much that we're learning about them. Not just new species of sharks, but new species of animals in general, because the ocean it's the largest part of our planet, and we're learning so much. So there's all things we really want to make sure we're taking care of it. Great question. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. And if you want to bye guys. All right, so we'll go ahead and back to Mrs. Amora's class. If you want to add another, join us finish off with 3 more questions.
Come on, guys. Thank you. Part of our group had to leave to head for PE, but we still have part here. Hello. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Luke. I was wondering if sharks pull air out of the water, then why can't they breathe on land?
Sure. Hi, Luke. So sharks can't breathe on land because of, if you remember when I was mentioning in the beginning, they have the really specialized structure called gills. And the ways gills work, they actually have to pull oxygen out of water versus, because as they have water pass across them, they're able to actually pull the oxygen out of the water via their gills. But while we have lungs, we have to breathe the air to actually get the oxygen out of the air. But the way their gills are set up, they just can't breathe air.
Hi, my name is James. How many sharks do you have there?
Hi, James. In the pen right now, we have 2 different species of sharks. We have 5 nurse sharks and 2 lemon sharks. All of them are baby sharks, so they're all under, say, 1.5 feet at most. But Bimini as a whole, we have 9 different species of sharks.
We've got one more.
Hi, my name is Malcolm, and my question is, have you ever saved any sharks from being extinct?
I don't think from going extinct, but like I know I've pulled fishing line, hooks out. You know, the labs helped sharks recover if they've had bites and injuries. Sharks heal incredibly quickly. The ability to heal. Imagine if you guys get a cut and it got wet every day, you went swimming every day, it wouldn't heal. It would stay open. But sharks, despite being in the water all the time, have incredible healing capabilities. So things like you get a big bite, eventually it will heal. So things like that, keeping them here in the pens and letting them recover, pulling lines off, untangling them, things like that. So that particular shark didn't die, but not as like a species as a whole from going extinct. But hopefully the work that all of us are doing, the lab, Sharks4Kids education, is part of helping a lot of sharks to be saved from extinction, a species as a whole, and sharks in general. So that's, you know, why we're talking to you guys, why we're doing this work, is because we don't want to see these animals go extinct.
Hey, it's Dawn Zamora. Can I ask you a question really quick?
What?
Have you or any of the guys or girls that work there, have you ever accidentally been bit?
I have not.
Not so far.
Not so far. You?
I have never stuck all my fingers and toes.
So, I mean, the thing is like, bites do happen, and sometimes, you know, if you're handling sharks and you're working with them, particularly little lemon sharks, they can bite their own tail. They're very flexible. They're kind of like yoga masters of the shark world. So you do have to be careful when you're handling them. So, you know, there's the reason when we're doing the workup, everything is done to minimize stress on the animal, make it safe for us and make it safe for the animal. So you're always thinking about that. And so, you know, bites, they do happen. When you handle an animal enough, it does happen, but it's not, again, because they're looking to bite us or they're trying to attack us. It's really, it does happen. It's very, very rare. And it's not because these animals are monsters and coming after humans.
Thank you.
Great. Do we have one more from your group, and that'll finish us off with your group, and then we'll go on.
Okay, last one. Quick. Hurry.
Hurry.
You gotta hurry because nobody else raised their hand. Oh, sorry, I didn't see it.
Do most people make sharks like movies like Sharknado and stuff because they don't like sharks and they want other people not to like sharks?
I think people make movies because it's funny. People go see them. People like to be scared. You know, you think of Halloween, haunted houses, and scary movies, and so unfortunately, sharks get put in that monster category because the ocean's a big place, and this, you know, it can seem scary, and they can be very large, and they do have teeth. So I think, unfortunately, because of some of the things that they have, they fit into that category, and people kind of are afraid of them, even if they've never seen one. And so, putting them in these crazy movies where they're flying around in tornadoes and in snow and all this stuff, you know, it's really sad because unfortunately a lot of people see that and they don't like sharks because of it, even if they know it's not real. But it's really not helping sharks. But sure, they're doing it because they're making money from it. Great question. All right, thank you guys so much. We'll finish off with Mrs. Lumley's class.
Hey, Ryan.
Have you ever had any really scary experiences with sharks?
Any scary experience? I mean, the first time I ever went diving with sharks, I was nervous. I didn't know what it was going to be like. I'd never done it before. Just like your first day of school or trying a new sport, you're nervous because you've never done it. But within a few minutes, I realized they were swimming around. They weren't interested in me at all. And then it was, wow, I'm swimming with sharks. This is amazing. So, yeah, I mean, I was definitely nervous because I'd never done it before. But I've never had a moment where I felt really scared or uncomfortable with the animal in the water. You guys?
No.
And we've spent thousands of hours. We spent a lot of time with these animals, and you know, nobody's been bitten. You know, it's really, you hear and see a lot, but you guys all can be great kind of junior shark ambassadors and speak up and ask great questions and not always believe the things you hear and see, because unfortunately, a lot of things that are said about sharks make them seem like monsters, and those things, 99% of them are not true. So you guys can kind of think about that next time you hear something about a shark. Think what you learned today, what you've learned in, you know, reading books or watching videos about these animals and how amazing they actually are.
Hey, anybody else have a question? You got to be at the front. Come on up.
Why do sharks deserve help from human beings?
Can you say that again?
Why do sharks deserve help from human beings?
Oh. Why do sharks deserve help from human beings? I personally feel because most of the troubles that seem to be affecting sharks are actually caused by human beings. So it only seems fair that if we're causing a lot of the trouble for the sharks, it's only fair if we try to help them as well.
And you guys, no matter where we live, we're connected to the ocean every single day. Some of the oxygen we have, the water we drink, the food we eat, no matter where we live, we're connected to it. And the oceans exist in healthy states, healthy, balanced, clean states because of these animals. They're keeping the food chain balanced. They're eating dead, injured, sick animals, keeping disease from spreading. So if you have an animal as a species that's responsible for keeping oceans healthy, that's important for all of us, and it impacts all of us no matter where we live. So therefore, if something is that important for all of us, we all really need to care about it, and it deserves our attention and our support. And yeah, the threats that they're facing, the problems, are human impact. We're causing this. So it absolutely is our responsibility to fix that. Same thing with pollution and trash and all of these things. We're causing these problems, but we can fix it. We can make a change and make it better. And we have a responsibility to do that. And so it's something that you guys can all do. Learning about sharks, talking to your friends about them, reusing a water bottle, easy, fun things. Make a poster, a cool shark poster to hang up at school so other kids can learn about sharks. Fun, easy ways that you can actually help save these animals. And no matter where you live, it actually really does make a difference.
Awesome. Okay,
We'll finish up with one more question from you guys.
Okay, go ahead.
How do sharks help the ocean?
Well, I just mentioned they do keep it clean by eating dead, injured, sick, dying animals. So there's not just a bunch of dead animals floating around. Keeps disease from spreading. They also, if you think of the food chain, sharks are carnivores. They eat other animals. So by doing that, it helps keep the food chain balanced. So there's not too many of one fish or not enough of another. And when you remove them from a system, it sort of starts to break down. The fish that they eat, their populations go up. And there's too many of them, they don't have enough food. And it keeps going down the system. And if the system's not balanced, it can't be very healthy. I've been to places where the sharks have been fished out, they're gone, the coral reefs are dying, there's very few fish, and that's not a healthy ocean. So, you know, they really do play an absolutely critical role for our oceans. Great questions. Thank you, all of you guys, for joining us. If you want to learn a little bit more, you can check out Bimini Sharklab.com. Find them on their social media pages for updates. You can also check out Sharks4Kids.com and check out our social media pages for updates and just dive into the world of sharks even more. And thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Bye. Thank you. And
All right.